Welcome back, and talking about this summit and how far does it strengthen the relations, diplomatic relations between Egypt and the world major powers?
Because we have more than 20 leaders who attended the summit, I think this sheds a light on how important it is to foster relations between Egypt and the world leaders, specifically when we talk about peace.
Yes. Right. Of course, talking about peace and talking about human rights as well, we know that Egypt joined the UN Human Rights Council 2026-2028, receiving 173 votes. Well, over the phone, we have Ambassador Raufsad, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
So, Mr. Ambassador, when we talk about this elections, how do you see it, and what kind of a message does it deliver to the whole world?
I think that this is quite an important event, and it has to be looked at and considered not only on the surface. It's not a celebrity. Rather than, you have to look at what it means to be for Egypt to be elected by more than 170 votes. To one of the most sensitive mechanisms in the United Nations. One is, electing Egypt by this high majority reflects that you are talking, genuinely about a country that is quite respectable internationally. But more than that, it is that the efforts Egypt is performing in order to promote the human rights in it and the country is being seen and considered with respect and appreciation. But more than that, it is very significant because we are getting such an opportunity in order to contribute to establishing a more perfect understanding or a concept of human rights. I mean, human rights have been used in the past, sometimes as conditions and whatever, and the way the West has drawn in order to serve their own interests. But I think Egypt has been and continues to introduce a wider concept of human rights. Meaning that human rights is not the classic understanding of the concept of the West, but human rights is the right for development, for survival, for decent life, and this is what Egypt is doing. However, I think the very important concept that is being applied and which should be introduced to the world, that the respect of human rights with its different areas should be coined with the respect of the rule of law. This is something, sometimes you feel that certain circles in the West either don't understand or disregard or avoid or ignore the importance of the rule of law, because this is not the situation in their own countries. But we are a developing country, and we are subjected to different events, and look what has been happening in Gaza. Well, if you want to talk about human rights, let's sit down and talk about it. What kind of human rights have been respected, by the Israeli party. In addition to that, I think for a country to accept, to take part in the peer review, the United Nations peer review of human rights, is extremely, extremely significant, because the peer review, for people that may not be very much aware of what it means, the peer review, it means that the countries exchange reviewing the situation, the countries themselves, right? Not you exchange the kind of review by countries, which means that the whole agenda will be open, will be available for other countries to review it, not in terms of monitoring, but in terms of exchanging the assessment and the appreciation of the efforts in order to land on a safe understanding and concept of a global respect of human rights. So it's not a celebrity, as I said. It is a big responsibility, and that would encourage Egypt even to go further in order to promote the understanding as well as the implementation of the respect of human rights in the country.
So, talking about this seat, how can it shape Egypt's foreign policy priorities as well?
Well, human rights I mean, if you want to take it as a priority, it is a permanent priority. I mean, it's not, in terms of priorities sometimes change, but in terms of human rights, you know, it has no end, because it develops, the human rights, you know, concept develops and continues to be elaborated, you know, in terms of the economic and political and social development. So it would, and I mean, Egypt has proved that maybe a bit late, but proved that, you know, human rights is not something that we fear or we are trying to avoid any kind of discussion by other countries, but it continues on its own, for its own interest. Because, as I said, if the promotion of human rights, together with the respect of the rule of law, would serve very much the relationship between the Egyptian citizen and the government, and would serve as well, you know, the contribution, the positive contribution of the Egyptian citizens in the development, the economic and development and social development, you know. So the concept is much larger than what it means literally. It is a deep contribution to building the human being and establishing strong links and ownership. And this is something I want to stress. What we need is not only belonging to the intima, you know, in Arabic. No, I think that would deepen the sense of ownership, because this is our own country, and for once you feel that this is your country, so you will act, you will behave in a different way. Respecting human rights, it means that you are respecting your own lives and the lives of others and the rule of law, as I said.
So, what commitments did Egypt pledge in its candidacy?
No, sorry, say it again.
Talking about the commitments that Egypt pledged in its candidacy this time.
The commitment starts from home. In other words, you know, Egypt is committed to its own people and to the country itself. Before that, you are committing before the international scene. So that's how we do it. That's what I mean, that we have a golden opportunity in order not to prove that we are a good government or we are doing something that we need appreciation, but it is for the own interest of the country itself. That's why the commitment should be strengthened through as I said, the respective rule of law, but you have to look at other things that you like education. And you know how education would inject, you know, in the minds and hearts of the Egyptian citizen, even from the kindergarten, you know, what it means to respect human rights. It's not an obligation, rather than that should be the only normal act of life. You know, it is not a favor for anybody or by anybody, but it is a self-commitment before it is a commitment to the government or to others.
Right. Ambassador Raouf Saad, former Assistant Foreign Minister, thank you very much for joining us. And back to Dr. Sarah Khater, Professor of Mass Communication, yes. Sorry. So, talking about these two important events, I'm talking about the summit and talking about this post for Egypt. Mm-hmm. So, for anyone who is just following these events, what is, or let's put it in other words, what is the first thing that will come to his mind when you talk about Egypt?
Well, let me start by saying that October has been a month of achievements for us this year. It started with Dr. Khaled Al-Anaini winning the UNESCO post, and then we have the Sharm el-Sheikh summit, and like you said, winning the membership of Human Rights Council. I think this is huge for Egypt. It reinforces our image and our nation brand worldwide, that we are a country that focuses on peace and conversation. We prefer peace and having dialogues with all other nations, and we embrace differences, and that's true. So I think having these events happening after each other within a short period of time has a great advantage, and reinforces, like I said, our nation branding as a country that actually not just calls for peace, it's historic in its call for peace.
So talking about the economic sides and the developments taking place now in Egypt, so how far or what is the impact of such an event when it comes to economy, to investments, attracting more foreign direct and indirect investments as well?
Yes, actually it's very important, I think. Because this is what we call in marketing, as I said, nation branding, and nation branding is very important in inviting investors, foreign investments, and strengthening or further strengthening our economy. So I think Sharm el-Sheikh summit and winning the membership of the Human Rights Council will actually have its positive return on Egypt economically as well.
What about the impact on, let's say, sustainable development, green energy, infrastructure? How do you see it from this side as well?
We have a lot of efforts in this field as well, in green energy and solar energy, and trying to reach and build a sustainable future for future generations in Egypt. So I think both will integrate together, the peace calling and the green and sustainable development goals that Egypt is trying very hard to reach. I think both will integrate together to form an image for Egypt that we are all trying and have worked our best to reach it.
When we talk about the current situation in Gaza, from your own point of view, do you think the upcoming period will be really challenging in respect of the idea of the reconstruction and healing and preparing these people? Palestinians actually in Gaza witnessed hell.
Yes,
so
that's true.
How far can the whole world cooperate and work together in this respect? Especially that the president again highlighted the importance that immediately another summit to be held for the reconstruction of Gaza.
Well, like you said, I think it will be very challenging to maintain the peace that everyone agreed upon in Sharm el-Sheikh summit. Reaching the peace agreement was very hard, but I think maintaining it will be even harder, and it needs more efforts. And like you said, Palestinian people have went through a lot, and yes, they have went through hell, I agree. And in order to make sure they actually have a compensation and a reconstruction for their lives and reconstruction for their futures, I think the whole world will have to come together, and Egypt will take the lead, I think, in this role, and will play a great part in bringing everyone together in order to help Palestinian people gain their, not just their independence, but also their rights.
And even we can see so far when it comes to the entrance of the humanitarian aid and the exchange of hostages and bodies, and even recently when Israel came out to say that they received the wrong body, and the United States came to say that they are doing their best. But definitely the situation in Gaza is not that easy to search and to make all the researchers to make sure of everything, or I mean what is related to the bodies. So how do you see this from your own point of view? This is exactly what was mentioned in the media.
Well, actually, and not just that, I think Israel also, there were a couple of raids after the ceasefire declaration. So I think, as I was saying, it will be harder to maintain the peace. And the whole exchange of litanies or between both sides, I think we will have to work harder to make sure that everything goes well and the Palestinian people will actually have their human rights back. And as members now in the Human Rights Council, I think we have a greater role to play in the coming period. So it's going to be more challenging and needs more effort, but I think Egypt will be able to do it as always.
Just allow us to move on to a quick break, then we'll be back.